I'm 16, and I never imagined that night would turn into a nightmare. I had been visiting my ex-boyfriend in a nearby town. When I returned, I realized I had missed the last bus home. The only option left, a taxi. At the taxi base, I sat down and tried to calm myself with music. Then I heard a man screaming on the phone, drunk, loud, chaotic. I had no idea this was just the beginning. When the taxi arrived, I got in, hoping for a quiet ride. But then he got in, Harry, drunk, aggressive, unpredictable. From a gray car behind us, a woman jumped out. She screamed and ran. Suddenly, I was trapped outside my own house. She grabbed my hair. She hit me. My vision blurred. I tried to defend myself, but my knuckles were bleeding. My hands hurt, and panic completely took over. Then I fought back, pulled her hair, shouted. Harry did nothing. The taxi driver, nothing. Later, I found out Harry had been recording the entire thing on his phone. Eventually, my mother came outside. My father, an ex-soldier, saw me, shocked and covered in blood. The police arrived, statements were made, and the attackers were taken into custody. I'm left with scars and memories that will never fade. That night changed me, and I hope I never encounter anything like it again.
He thought the street was empty. He was wrong. By the end of this story, you will never walk past an abandoned building at night again. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more chilling stories like this. By the end of this story, you will never walk past an abandoned building at night again. Because Ethan did, and something in the dark reached out and touched him. The doctor showed him the photograph, and that's when he realized it wasn't human. Ethan had just turned 45, and Friday nights still belonged to him. After 5 long days hunched over machinery at the factory, the only thing that made sense was cold drinks and old laughs with Danny, his oldest friend, his only real one. They'd sat at Danny's apartment until nearly midnight, the bottles emptying slowly, the week dissolving into bad jokes and half-remembered stories from their 20s. By the time Ethan stepped out onto the street, the city had gone quiet, the kind of quiet that settles in after midnight, when even the street lamps seemed to be trying to sleep. He didn't mind. Home was only a 20-minute walk, and the cool night air felt good against his warm face. He was 10 minutes in when he passed the old Hargrove Memorial Hospital. Everyone in the neighborhood knew it. Shut down for over a decade, arched windows caved in, walls blackened by rain, iron gate frozen open like something had forced it wide and never came back. And tucked right beside it, barely visible from the road, was the old morgue. Ethan had walked past 100 times. He had never once stopped. Tonight, though, his body had other priorities. The drinks had done their work, and he was not going to make it home. He glanced up and down the empty street. Nothing, no one. He slipped through the bent gate. The narrow gap between the hospital wall and the boundary fence was completely dark. Ethan kept one hand on the damp brick and moved carefully, his shoes crunching over broken glass and loose rubble. The smell hit him, old stone, and something else, something he couldn't name, something almost sweet and deeply wrong. He didn't think about it. He did what he came to do and got out of there. Back on the main street, he exhaled, straightened his jacket, and walked on. His apartment was only minutes away. He was already thinking about his bed, about Saturday morning with no alarm, about... Then the breeze came. Just a light one at first, the kind of breeze that stirs in the small hours of the night and carries a slight chill. Ethan barely noticed it. Then the second gust hit, harder, colder, sudden as a door slamming shut somewhere behind him. And with it came something else entirely. The absolute bone-deep certainty that something was behind him. Not someone, something. He stopped walking. The feeling pressed against the back of his neck like a cold thumb. His skin tightened. The hairs on his arms stood up beneath his jacket. Every instinct in his body, every animal instinct, buried under 45 years of rational, grown adult life, was screaming at him to run. Instead, slowly, he turned around. The street was empty. The hospital sat exactly where it always sat. Dark windows, bent gate, nothing moving, nothing there. Ethan let out a breath. He laughed, a short, embarrassed sound, and shook his head. The drinks. He turned back around. The third gust hit him like a wall, ice cold, violent, roaring from nowhere. His head snapped around on reflex, and then the world went black. He didn't feel himself fall. There was only the wind and the dark, and then nothing. He woke up in a hospital bed, a different hospital, a real one. White ceilings, fluorescent light, the sharp smell of antiseptic. His back was on fire. A neighbor had found him unconscious on the pavement just before dawn and called an ambulance. The doctor said he'd been lying there for hours. His phone was still in his pocket, his wallet untouched. It wasn't a robbery. There were no scrapes on his palms, no bruising on his knees, nothing consistent with a simple fall. Something struck you, the doctor told him carefully. From behind, a significant impact. You're fortunate nothing is broken. Ethan frowned. Struck me with what? The doctor paused. He reached for a folder on the side table, opened it, and removed a single photograph, a close-up image of Ethan's lower back, taken while he was unconscious in the ambulance. He handed it over. Ethan took the photograph. He stared at it for a very long time. On his lower back, pressed deep into his skin, in a darkening bruise the color of storm clouds, was a handprint. Not a smear, not a mark, a handprint. 4 fingers and a thumb, spread wide, deliberate, unmistakable. But the fingers were wrong. They were too long, each one tapered to a narrow point rather than a rounded tip. The thumb sat at an angle no human thumb could hold, bent backward at a joint that shouldn't exist. And the span of that palm. Ethan had large hands, but this print was nearly twice the width of his own. The bruise faded after 2 weeks. The pain in his back lasted a little longer. The memory has never left him. Ethan still lives in the same neighborhood, still works at the same factory, still sees Danny on Friday nights. He just never walks home the way that passes the old Hargrove Memorial Hospital. Some questions, he has decided, are better left as questions. Whatever stood behind him in the dark that night, whatever reached out of the blackness and touched him, he does not want its name. He does not want to understand it. He only wants to forget the shape of its hand. He hasn't managed that yet.